okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but thank you for that idea.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Okay, that's good.
Good morning. Yeah. Would you like one as well, sir? Thank you. Okay. Morning, Gary. Morning, Chuck. How are you? Looking good.
I've been working out almost every day at Active Generations.
Good for
And
you.
when I can't get there, I do half an hour at home. But it's getting harder. But I still do it.
Well, hard is just what you're made of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If I wasn't any other way, I wouldn't be here now.
Absolutely not.
welcome to today's worship service. We're grateful that you're here with us today. My name is Janet Coonsey, and I'm the service coordinator for today here at All Souls Church, where our mission is to seek truth, practice love, and celebrate life. Whether you are joining us for the first time or you've been a member for a long time, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known or not known, or whatever your heritage, you are welcome here. Whatever questions you hold, whatever truths you seek, whatever sorrow you have known, whatever joy has filled your heart, whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. And today we have a few announcements. First of all, I call your attention to this lovely hat. Mr. Twister, the balloon man, this means nothing except that I'm having fun today. And my husband's having fun with the mohawk. Back in the corner over there. These are things that happen when you go to holiday parties. I call your attention to the notice of next Sunday's program at the bottom of your order of service, and also the announcements on the insert, and urge you to read our weekly email blast for the dates and details of upcoming events and opportunities. If you're not receiving our weekly emails, please sign up for them on the clipboard in the foyer before leaving. We do have a few announcements here. The candle sculpture over here in the corner was created by a Minnesota farmer who wanted to depict an expanding universe. So this is a new fixture in the church. And also Natural Grocers has given us several $5 coupons. They're downstairs with some other literature on the table in the fellowship area. They gave a lot of things for the basket that we raffled off last week, and they're wanting to be more involved with our church. Also, I wanted to let you know we have some other announcements.
Hi, I'm Alan. I want to also extend a welcome to new people and everybody else. And special thanks to Joy and Liz and Sue Ann for doing the decorating yesterday evening. And then I just want to highlight the play that's taking place tonight and also next Sunday night called Almost Maine. I had not heard of it, but I understand that they're doing just 5 vignettes, and so it only lasts about 45 minutes. It's not a long play, but it is a contemporary American play, and I understand it was recently performed at Augustana University in its entirety, which was 9 vignettes. So they took the best ones, and we don't have to have an intermission, we just have the best of it. So encourage you to come out. It's free of charge, and that's both tonight and next Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And Jeannie Brett Rudbig from our church is one of the cast members.
Okay. And I want to invite you up. We have another announcement. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. I just have a reminder for this coming Thursday. There is a potluck at our house, and it's open to anyone in the congregation. So don't be shy. We would love to have you. And it will be at 6:30 at our house. If you need the address, just come to me at the end of the service. And I will be making crepes. So hopefully you will join us.
Sounds good. Any other announcements? Okay. I invite you to stay after the service for coffee downstairs, and also then coming back upstairs for a circle discussion after the service. And at this time, we're going to have the prelude. house lighting. I'd like to read this antiphonally with me, it's number 443. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us, to restore their images on our hearts. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who with us seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes claim the remembered faces, their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another. And today's first song is number 140, Hail the Glorious Golden City. Number 140. Now we'll have our first reading. It's number 549. 549. That's in this big gray book. I might mention also, you might notice something interesting about today's hymns. Let's see if you figure that out. Something we didn't realize until this morning. Anyway, today we'll read antiphonally. That means I read the regular type and you read the italics. Number 549. Blessed be you, harsh matter, barren soul, stubborn rock, you who yield only to violence, Blessed be you, perilous matter, violent sea, untamable passion. You with us, ever you will devour us. Blessed be you, mighty matter, irresistible march of evolution, reality ever newborn. You who by constantly shattering our mental categories, force us to go ever further and further in our pursuit of the truth. Blessed be you, universal matter, unmeasurable time, boundless ether, triple abyss of stars and atoms and generations. You who by overflowing and dissolving our narrow standards of measurement, reveal to us the dimensions of God. And it's time for the story for all ages. So would the children like to come forward? Peter has a story for you.
Hi. Good. I have a cough.
I still like to hear you speak.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
Okay. Oh, we've got some takers, haven't we? Suppose I should put on this. Pretty sure that's working. I'll sit down. It's Peter, my namesake. Good to see you. I'm going to put my glasses on. Now this story seems to me, as an adult, is pretty simple. But it's something that we, I think, need to do every day when we get up. And we say, thank you for all the things that surround us. And so this one, it starts off with some pictures and of all kinds of things that somebody might wake up to in the morning. Thank you, sun, for waking up the morning and coloring the sky. Thank you, sky, for shining blue that calls me to touch you swinging high. Thank you, swing. You shoot me like a rocket past birds and grass and trees. Thank you, grass, for softening my footsteps. I'm dancing with the breeze. And we might be saying, thank you, snow, for allowing us to lie down and make angels. Thank you, breeze, for lifting up my kite wings, treetops tall and proud. Thank you, trees, for branches on my playhouse. I'm climbing to the clouds. Thank you, clouds, for painting cotton pictures and sending cool, sweet rain. Thank you, rain, for watering my flowers and washing my window panes. We'll have to wait a while for that to happen. Next year, maybe. Thank you, window. You welcome in the moonlight that yawns from starry skies. Thank you, stars, for sparkling so brightly. You shine like Mummy's eyes. Thank you, Mummy, for tucking in my tiptoes and kissing me goodnight. And so there you have it. Some of the things that each day we do and sometimes take for granted. But why not? Why not say thank you for all those things that surround us? And that's all I've got for you today. So we'll sing you all out now.
At this time we have joys and concerns. In this congregation, congregation, we found it helpful to share the ups and downs of our lives by the practice of taking a stone from a bowl, holding it in our hand, warming it, and expressing our thoughts of joy and our concern, and then placing the stone in the water, so that the ripples of the water carry our joys and concerns out into the wider world. I'll begin by taking one stone. Is this one working? Yes, it is. By expressing the joy of having my fine puppy hat that I got last night. I'll enjoy it while it lasts. Does anyone else have a joy or concern they'd like to share?
Hi, I'm Pat Lovehead, and I've had a weekend by myself because my husband Eric is in Maryland. He lost a brother-in-law, and I will not promise I will not read the whole thing. I wrote this out from the obituary on the internet. Eric's older sister, Amy, lost her husband of 30 years. And he was Dr. Ayuri Puklavit. He was born on November 17, 1947 in Sitia, Siberia, and to the late Georgie and Kapelina Puklavit. He received his PhD in materials engineering, retiring from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission in 2020. Ayuri was the beloved brother of Irina, father to Sergei, grandfather to Nikita, stepfather to Aaron and Michael Hull, and husband to Amy Hull for 30 beautiful years. He was first moving to the Argonne National Laboratory as a visiting scientist in 1994. He was proud of becoming an American citizen and working for the American government to ensure the safe use of radioactive materials for the beneficial civilian purposes. While protecting people and the environment, he was a stranger to no one and supportive and loving to all.
Well, my name is Chuck Taylor, and I've been a member here for a long time, off and on. You know, I have a joy and a concern. The joy is that my daughter is visiting my a 94-year-old father in California, and I can't go because of my arthritis, but that's okay because I'm with my wife. And the other thing is a concern. My arthritis is getting worse, but you know, I counteract it with lots of exercise. My rheumatologist, who I met with yesterday, says there's really nothing they can do. Arthritis is one of those diseases that you're stuck with. And mine is a rheumatoid condition, so it simply just gets worse, no matter what kind of drug they give you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dan Reiki, and I want you to know that JC and I and Amy have come as we're a three-member person here from our church, and we're doing violin duet performances in nursing homes. We were at Prairie Creek yesterday, and we actually did 2 performances at Prairie Creek for assisted living and a place called The Lodge. And this next Saturday, we'll be at Washington Crossing, and the weekend after that, back to Dalrymple, where we've been before as a congregation. So it's such a joy to go and do it, but I have to tell you a little humor. And yesterday, when we came to the assisted living, we came in, and someone apparently in the scheduling, and I called ahead, they knew we were coming. They had booked a funeral for the same time we were gonna do a performance, but it was 1 hour after. But they were showing slides and people were coming, and the people who were coming for this funeral, and it was nice that they could be there, but they weren't coming to hear us play. But they kept coming in the door to where they were being gathered in a room right adjacent to the eating place where, where we were set up to do our performance. And so as they came in, they didn't understand that you have to wait to be let in to an assisted living facility. So every time these people came in, they'd open the door, beep, 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 beep. Loud beeping went on. So in the quiet pieces and the noisy pieces everywhere throughout our whole performance, people were coming and going and the alarm was going off. So I just want to say that was a little humor that we hadn't expected. I'll put a rock of gratitude that we didn't have that problem over at the lodge. But, it was a fun time anyway, and it's a great time for us to go and announce where we're from and bring joy, and I'm so glad that Amy's there to hand out programs and visit with folks as well. So thank you for your support of us, and we'll be looking forward to playing here too as the Christmas season rolls along. So gratitude.
Those of you who know me know that we are a dog family. And the 1st of September, we lost the most precious little dog who was closest to my heart. And we felt very devastated. And then last Sunday in the evening, her little mate that, was together with her, was sitting next to me, and all of a sudden he cried out and kind of thrashed and was quiet, and he had died. And so we've been feeling doubly sad and upset, and didn't think we ever wanted another dog again. This was so painful for us. And a friend called Wednesday night. She had seen a little dog on Craigslist, and it looked like our little dogs, and so she called up and connected me with these people, and we went that night, 1 o'clock at night, and looked at this little dog, and he's just a perfect little dog. He looks just like our dogs that we've had, and so we decided to take him. And it's so strange because they had so much gear for him. My friend drove me over in her big SUV, and the whole back end of the trunk was filled with his gear, and the back seat was filled with his gear. And all I expected was a little dog with his rabies shot. But anyway, we got him home, and he just fit in just perfectly with the remaining dogs that we have, and with us, and he just seemed to be settling in. And then the people called the next morning, wanted to know how he was doing. They called the next morning, wanted to know how he was doing. The third morning, they were missing him so much they wondered if we could give him back. I said, we're really have fallen in love with this little guy. Why don't you give it a week and think about it? But we're very reluctant to want to give him back. He's just blended in perfectly overnight with us, and just as taken with us, and we with him, and the rest of the dogs. And so there's sadness and happiness here. The other thing is that somebody was kind enough to send a book to us, and it came. It was a little book about a little boy that's lost his dog, and we don't know who sent the book, so if it was somebody here, please let me know so I can thank you for it, because it's a beautiful little book, and maybe we'll read it one of these times. It's called The Invisible Leash. So there's our sadness, our happiness in this new little dog. So keep your wishes that the right thing, that he stays with us. Hopefully. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to commemorate, I guess, yesterday was December 7th. And for many of you, that will ring bells of memory in terms of it being the day that would live in infamy. And so as a way of commemorating all the people who died at Pearl Harbor, on the Arizona and other ships, and for those people who then served in Europe and in the Pacific, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? At this time then, I will put in a final stone for all those joys and concerns which have not been said, but are still in our hearts. Now let's take a moment to have a moment of silent reflection to think on these things that we've heard today. We'll move on to our second song, which is number 143, Not in Vain for Distance Beacons. Number 143. To be or use. I want to be with people who submerge in the task,
who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along,
who stand in the line and haul in their places,
who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out.
The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust.
But the thing worth doing well has done shapes, clean and evident.
Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn, are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used.
The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person to work that is real.
And now we'll hear some thoughts from Peter Holland.
I don't know whether you know, but then how many Unitarians does it take to change a light bulb?
They have to debate.
The answer that I came up with was none, because we've long ago substituted our incandescent lights for LEDs, which we are told and believe will last a lifetime. And the other thing that I'm moved to tell you is that I've spoken at this church several times over the years, and when Debbie Reed was our pianist, she played the jazz standard before I spoke. It ain't necessarily so. I think Carol has, right. So I did put in my title that we were going to talk about Advent, and we know that Advent is a hope for a Messiah who will save humanity. But today, what we are thinking about in Advent is how do we look forward to save ourselves in a planet that will in fact do us in if we don't treat it right. And I want to also start by thinking about how, as Unitarians, we sometimes focus our minds on the things like what Abraham Maslow called the hierarchy of needs. But most of our thinking is up in that top corner, right at the top of the pyramid, where we are thinking about self-actualization. But below that, in the triangle, is a lot of other things to do with basic raw energy, serving the soul from, so self-actualization on one hand, but on the other hand, just energy. Things like having a safe place to live, which takes energy, eating, having food, and that kind of thing. And we don't often necessarily talk about that. And a quote from, I suppose, Winston Churchill, I'm guessing, was asked whether the world would come to an end. And Churchill was supposed to have said, it depends on if the humans can adapt to their immaturity, or maturity. And that leads me to think about, well, what is a mature person? And how can the mature people lead in our world? And one of the ways in which I'd come to think about it was from a rabbi who I studied with, whose name was Ed Friedman. And he defined maturity as a series of things. One was knowing what you believed Another was knowing what you would live or die for, what was important. And another one was having horizons that would be beyond what you could actually see. And then, if you were successful at doing all these things, you were to expect sabotage from people who didn't necessarily agree with your conclusions. So it took, once you had developed some maturity, it took a degree of persistence and stamina to bring it through. And he used the example of Christopher Columbus, who sailed west to go east. And so the way out of our dilemmas in life are not by thinking, but by adventure. I also came across an article about a Unitarian woman. It wasn't that the article was about a book about a Unitarian woman. And her name was Barbara Lee Smith Borderam. And, no, Beaudeschamps. Somebody I hadn't heard of before, which is an English Unitarian. She was born in 1827 and lived to 1891. And the book review was saying that she was the first feminist to change our world, which is probably not true, but it probably sold books. But the reviewer of this pointed out that she helped to found Girton, Cambridge's first women's college. She bankrolled the English Women's Journal. She campaigned for women to keep their property in marriage, amongst other things. And her gender was obviously fundamental to her views and motivations. She was wealthy and used her wealth as a person who would give to others. But so too was her network of highly politicized Unitarian families. And so my ears perked up when I started reading this. It was in the London Review of Books, so I was nerding out on something that was really kind of strange. But then the author of the article who's reviewing the book says, well, he has to tell us who the Unitarians are, because we perhaps wouldn't be familiar with who they are. And he says, Unitarians thought mainstream theology ploddingly irrational. They could find no evidence that Christ was divine, or that he had been to earth to redeem humanity from innate sin. It was more plausible that God loved his creatures and wished them to develop their perfection by following Christ's human example. Individual character was not determined by a sense of sin or the guidance of priests, but by environment. A rational education and loving surroundings would best develop each person's moral sense and potential. Reason, a God-given faculty, would create truthful works of history, philosophy, and art, and lead to scientific and technological discoveries that would boost national wealth and prosperity. This wealth should be invested in further improvements. Most dynamic British commercial towns had a cultured, influential Unitarian elite. And I can say that my grandparents and my great-grandparents were in some ways part of that movement. My great-grandfather was a mayor of his town, and my grandfather was a board member of a great big steelworks. And so my sense is that that Advent then is a hope for a positive future. That's the way we can perhaps think about it in the light of the background in Unitarianism that I come from. And it's particularly that I wanted to focus on the particular part about the positiveness about the future. That wealth should be invested in further improvements, but that, yes, so a God-given faculty would create truthful works of history and lead to scientific and technical discoveries that would boost national wealth and prosperity. And my sense is that if humanity can adopt our potential maturity, an abundant future is possible. And so I tend to read the people who agree with me. And that has led me to look at YouTubes by a group of people, including two names. One's called Tony Sieber, another one's Adam Dorr. And they have a thing called Rethink X. And their interest is in how we adopt in our lives new ideas and technologies, and that these don't develop just in a linear way, they develop exponentially. Well, when we reach a tipping point, it results in mass adoption. Some mature industries don't have any room to cut in their costs, and eventually, according to this theory, will eventually drop away. And a couple of them, in terms of our energy, are probably coal, which can't be, which is kind of dropping off, and even nuclear power, which over the years has not shown any ability to be less costly. And so there are 4 areas of disruption which give hope of abundance through exponential growth. The first one is energy for our home, our work, warmth, and our cooling. The second is energy to make it easier to get around, transport. And the third disruption is energy to produce enough food. And the fourth, energy to make human labor as productive as we can do it. These changes rely on energy produced in industrial quantities without burning up the planet and sinking too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And so to take these 4 briefly, and I also nerd out on all the statistics, but the main and perhaps central theme is on broadly what we would call SWB, sun, wind, and batteries. And what I wanted to do was to check in with you and say, how are we doing on this process towards a renewable future? And where we stand, I think, with renewable futures at the moment is that in the world we are 30 to 40% worldwide into a renewable future. That surprised me, that is how much wind, solar, whatever other things as well, including not just wind and solar, but things like heat pumps, hydropower. And of course with hydropower, you see, South Dakota is about 90% renewable, because we have all the hydro from the Missouri River and some of the wind that is, borders our state. You don't often see it, but it's there and it's creating, we are very fortunate to have that. We have the technology, it seems, and the deployment modules to provide enough energy for cleaner, cheaper, and therefore better futures. Our investment in renewables is probably greater at this point. When I say our, I mean the world. The people who have money are investing more in renewables than they are in oil and gas. And this is the first time that I think this has happened. So just to put it in perspective, the picture on the front of the bulletin shows the sun. In an hour, the sun provides enough energy for a year of human need and it's not going to go anywhere soon. In fact, if you really want to know a timeline, it's like 4 billion years before the sun burns out. Wind, we could scale up to provide 40 times more energy than the world needs. And batteries, which are just coming online, even up the times where what we have used in the or we are still using are peaker plants, which just come in when they're needed, when people use the most energy. But batteries, of course, will take our solar and our wind and store it for us. So that's, if you go down and drive through Minnesota and across those wind farms, if you're going during the middle of the day, they're not always running. But if we can put batteries into them, then they won't have to curtail the supply, and they'll be able to store it and use it later. So what does the cheaper, cleaner energy picture look like? The growth in tech, as I've said, happens fast. But price, money, determine the future. And prices are dropping. So even places like Texas, where they had a very bad winter and all the electricity was down for a while, it seems like, they have a great momentum for renewable. The West Texas plains are a place where a lot of wind energy and oil is being drilled. And they are moving ahead, California too, over the objections, I guess, of oil and gas interests. Now, it is said that we should drill, baby, drill by some people, but that really doesn't help us, because the kind of oil we're drilling out isn't going to be useful to us, because we have to import some, which is different kind of oil, and it's all kind of complicated that way. But the law of reality, it seems to me, can't be lobbied against. Older technology does not come down in price, but when price determines the future, the adoption rate is exponential. Here's some examples of SWB. Solar in the 1960s cost $130 per watt. It's now 31 cents. And it's come down 90%, solar panels, from 2008, come down in price by 90%. In 1991, batteries, 1 kilowatt hour was $7,500. Now it's less than $50. Lithium, as a battery ingredient, in 2011 cost $1,200 for a kilowatt hour, and in 2023 it was $50. You can't move without mentioning computers either, can we really? Because those are the thing in our life that we've seen that have changed so much over the years. And somebody said that they thought that in the last 51 years, 62% of has been the annual growth rate in computers. And a good case study for those of us who are thinking about the political moment we're in is China. Because China, I think you may remember, realized internationally at the time when the Olympics was happening that they needed to kind of curtail their industry so that people could breathe the air in Beijing while it was, while they were having the Olympics. And so the powers that be have stopped making hundreds of coal plants, and the intolerable pollution in their eastern cities, which was shortening the lives of the 1.2 billion people who live in China, was something that needed attention. And so they gradually removing coal and oil, in particular the removing of oil for the Chinese is because they're importing all the oil. They don't want it. They would rather do something else. They have enough clean energy for all in China, except they're a growing economy and they need to have something left for their industry. Last year, they increased their solar installation by 50%, 21 gigawatts, which means 1 gigawatt will produce enough power for 1 million homes, more or less. And 21 gigawatts is actually the amount of energy that's used in Britain in a year. So it's, America has not been slow to adopt these things, and the same is somewhat happening here too. We've had a 50% increase, but of course the base was lower. So I know that in a way, when I get into these things, I think it's something that can really glaze you over. It's not something necessarily that you really want to know. So let me turn from the energy that we are producing to the transport that we use. And of course that's another area, isn't it, that we find where there's a I'm using the word revolution, but it's a disruption going on. And just before we go there, let me say that the word I love in energy production is Dunkelflau. And it's a German word, and apparently it means dark flood. And there are periods when the sun doesn't blow and the wind doesn't shine. And but it's only about 5-6 days a year. And so they have to, they actually work to, that if we can produce enough energy for that trough, then the rest of the year we have a surplus, and that will help us deal with and bring on new things. So, electric transportation's not new, is it? They call them ICE cars, which means internal combustion engine cars. They won't get cheaper, but EVs are already at cost parity. They're expensive, of course, but 24% of the cars sold in California in 2024 were electric. China, the world's largest car market, sold 39% EVs in 2023, and in September 2024, they sold 60%. Norway is 95%. And so, I don't particularly like owning a car, but one of the things to look out for in the future is that owning a car may not be the way we're going to go. We may be going towards a renewable future with robo-taxis. So it's not just car ownership that's going to change. It's also going to be that the way in which we seek transportation is going to be a service for us rather than an ownership thing. And then the third thing is food. The thing about food is that we know that there are, 9 billion people on the planet that have to be fed. And not everybody gets enough food. Not everybody gets enough protein. So trying to find a way to feed those people, it's certainly not going to be possible to do what Europe and America does, which is to graze cattle in fields and that kind of thing. And so one of the processes that is also coming down in price that we need to look out for in the near future is what's called precision fermentation. And precision fermentation is something that means that we can industrially produce food, obviously in factories close to the population centers. And there are also those food productions of vertical factories where we can make greens and vegetables and all that kind of thing. And so we need to look at that, but precision fermentation depends on simply creating proteins by starting with either microbes or yeasts, adding, sugar and water and those kinds of things. And then out of those we can create many proteins. And precision fermentation got started in medicine. So insulin used to take 50,000 cattle to produce 1 kilogram of insulin. And so with precision fermentation and an industrial process, the price and everything and the ability to produce insulin has come down. And you may not know that cheese is manufactured by industrially produced curds and whey. It's not from milk, it's actually industrially produced in 90% of the cheese that we eat. So a factory might take up 1% of the land used for grazing. We can use extra fallow land to reabsorb the carbon, and we can also use low emission farming methods instead of using 28% of the Earth's surface for animals. And then the fourth thing after food is the innovation that perhaps can happen in labor and work. The particular areas that we're all familiar with is how computers have brought down somehow the cost of labor in many areas and given us the ability to do great things, more things. But the other part of it is that computers are now going to be part of, it's called artificial intelligence is the term that's used. And in a way, computers have always been artificial intelligence. But the change in artificial intelligence now has been towards what's called a large language model. And there is a phrase that came out this last year called a chat GPT moment. And chat GPT was adopted in 13 weeks by 20 million people. It happened very rapidly. And I think that artificial intelligence is something that's going to influence labor. And together with that, there is also a movement towards humanoid robots, which are going to be part of the mix of labor that we're going to see. But I don't want to, go on. I want to finish, really, basically, and get out of all these statistics. But I must have had the urge to speak to you about these when Alan asked me. And so to summarize, the promise of an advent of abundance is going to be disruptive. Money is trying to protect itself, obviously, and it tries to slow down the progress with what's called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Fossil fuel interests, for example, have made electric cars very divisive, even though they shouldn't be, when their superiority, in my opinion, is backed by lots of data. They try to market lies. For example, EVs are polluting just as much as gas cars, and they catch fire, which they don't. Well, they do, but only 8 times less than an internal combustion engine. The word is combustion in the middle. But good marketing is a truth well told. And science told us the world we have is being threatened. It has provided data which has accurately predicted our dilemma and shown us how we can move to a future that is cleaner, cheaper, and better. And that's it.
So we'll quickly have our offering now. know we're out of time, so we'll wrap things up quickly here. In the interest of time, we'll skip our third song and our third reading. The interesting thing about the songs was that they had a similar music to them. We won't hear that now. All right, let's extinguish the chalice. The chalice
Just is extinguished, but the light goes with us out into the world.
Please join us downstairs and then back upstairs at 20 after for the circle discussion. Yeah, we'll play for you. Feel free to go downstairs if you want to get involved. Good?